Oh, hello. How are y'all doing? It is live Jaw Harp tonight or tonightliest Jaw Harp, whatever y'all want to call it. Hey, Jonathan Rouse. Hey, how y'all doing? I kind of zoned out. I wanted to play for just a second, and then I got lost in the harp again. Nick Coleman, how are you doing? How is things out yonder? How's things going on? Things are good here. It was a nice day. I went to two different parks with my family today. My son's old enough now that he can climb on the on the ladder. Well, not ladders, but climb on the stairs and go down slides and stuff in limited fashion. Anyways, get back to the harp. Oh yeah, yeah. We were out in my front yard. We got one evergreen tree. Don't know the particular variety, but we were finding pine cones. And at the park today, he found several well, lots of pine cones, and he was collecting them, and also a cob of corn. What should we play? Got a few different harps. Oh yeah, you're speaking of the Romanov. I know my son's not quite asleep yet, so I don't have to be worried about waking him. I'm just gonna go ahead and break out my Romanov. I got a poor Yorick. My favorites were the Yorick and also which the Yorick's the one people ask about this harp a lot. Like, what Glazerin harp is it with the jester on it? It's not a Glazerin. This is a Romanov. They're super loud. My favorite were the Yorick and the Borovoy. Hey, g'day, mate. How you doing, Bailey Little? I do this here. I'm just doing an out and in breath. Let's see here. I'm doing a closed out in, closed out in, and I'm gradually bringing my tongue up. Hey, Aunt Joanne, how are you doing? How are things way down in the south? We'll play something different. Yeah, the Romanov harps were really good. I did enjoy them. There's a pretty decent variety of them. They are kind of expensive. I only decided to keep one for myself. I got a few harps. Ended up getting 12 harps from him in all, and then he's going out to the sea for 6 months. Is the harp with the skull custom? No, this is a Poor Yorick by Romanov. I've got one left in stock. I haven't yet got it on the harpery.com yet, but it will be in the future if it doesn't sell before then. But yeah, if you're interested in a Yorick, I've got one left. This is my personal one. Anyways, yeah, Romanov goes out to sea for like 6 months at a time, and then he returns home for several months and builds harps. And it's loud and piercing, but it's got some bit of melodic capability, or some bit of really picking up that open close in a clean fashion. I would say it's kind of like some of the Chimchoyev I've played, but not like the Chimchoyev, in the respect that when you strike it really gently, it has better melodic content, whereas the Chimchoyev is a little bit cleaner. But if you hit it really hard, it's really piercing. I'm trying to explain what I was doing there. It's like I'm slamming my glottis shut, then I'm giving an out-in breath and taking my tongue up real quick. Yeah, yo. But it's closed, out, in, or closed and out. You can do it either way. And we're on a little bit earlier tonight. It was a good day. So I'll play some of the louder harps, some instruments I almost never get to play just because I don't want to wake my son up. Put that away. And all the Romanov are in stainless. I'm not sure if the reeds will rust or not, but frames are in stainless. What was I going to play? Oh, yeah. This one here. Oh, I need to play the Chimchoyev. Last night I was really getting... Let's just play the Chimchoyev right now. I was really getting down on this harp. Every time I play it, I notice something different. Sometimes if you strike it really gently, it's melodic. And if you strike it harder, it's really loud and squelchy. There's a lot to work with in it, because every time I play it, it gives me something a little bit different. And there was some friction with this instrument myself when I first bought it, because it wasn't quite what I expected. It's kind of like sometimes with harps, certain harps, and I've noticed this with Yakutian instruments, you kind of got to just put aside what you want to do on the instrument, especially at first, and just submit to the will of the instrument. Let the instrument take over and play itself. It's got good melodic capabilities, not like a dedicated melodic like your Munop or a Palmopol or something like that, but it's also got this squelching drone that's going on that I really like. There's that thing I was talking about when I'm closing, I'm doing an out and in or an in-out breath and throwing my tongue upward. Have you ever heard of the musical Saw? Oh, yes, I've seen them. If you search it on YouTube, there's some really gnarly stuff on it. And then when I was at the Bluegrass Festival, the Walnut Valley Festival, a dude came up to where I was vending, because I was selling harps there, and started playing the musical Saw. It was really cool. I've noticed this instrument, for some reason, it does sound better and cleaner when I pluck it with an overhand. I don't know why that is. I know the overhand pluck feels like a stronger pluck to me. I really like this instrument, and it was one that wasn't my favorite at first, but the more I play it, the more I get from it. I like it when a harp kind of, it takes you a long time to discover it, and I hope I never discover all the secrets it holds. Have a sip of caffeine during the weekend. I've actually given up caffeine during the week, and then I just drink tea on the weekends. I really don't miss caffeine that much for work, but on the weekends, to stay up late, I do enjoy it quite a bit. Let's play this one here. just missed somebody's comment. I really find that closing my... he says, I think the jaw harp would be a good instrument to pass the time while fishing. Yeah, I think that would be a good idea, just provided you're not fishing in a place that a super loud harp might disturb your fishing. But yeah, I do play on a lot of quieter instruments. This is a Reveri, and it's not very loud. Yeah, I play a lot of Gorka too, just for the fact that they're not as loud, because I don't want to be putting the extreme noise in my house late at night. But let's play something loud. Oh, I haven't played this in a long time. Let's see if I remember how. This is my Litvinov G2. Yeah, it's pretty hard, but I haven't played it in a while, though, just because of how loud it is. It's kind of the same tune I've been playing all evening. I kind of latch onto a certain tune or certain rhythm and then just do it on all the instruments. Let's see if I can do something different. I need to play a Morchang. I haven't played a Morchang all evening. Well, I did play a tailless real briefly. And somebody asked me a question. I think I'm going to be making a video if people be interested in a good ramble. They asked me, how can you have a jaw harp excuse me, that is 2 inches long and in C2, and also a harp that's 4 or longer and still be a C2? And how does the grinds of a harp or the grinds of the reed affect that? And we'll just touch on that real quick. The thicker the reed is, or the wider the reed is, one of the two, the more stability it has. So you can make a thinner reeded harp, or a harp that's not as springy, longer and still be higher. Somebody says, have you hit? Oh, I missed it there. Where was I going with that? Maybe that's a better topic for a long video ramble. But yes, reed thickness in this dimension and in this dimension has a lot to do with tuning. The stiffer it is, the faster it's going to vibrate. So the longer it would need to be the same note. If you have like this is a very deep instrument, if as I can find it. There it is. My G0. This is a perfect example of this. This is the lowest harp I have. It is far lower even than this giant harp. And there's a good reason for it. That harp has a very thick reed. There's a lot of weight at the front of it. And the more weight you have in the trigger area, the more it slows that reed down. So that's another thing to factor in. But this one is super flexible. Because the reed is ground thinner in this dimension. We're about regular width in that dimension. And it's ground thinner in this dimension. So it'll vibrate a lot slower. It has a lot less power. And ways that, we'll wipe this off, ways that your grind of your reed actually affects that as well. The friend of mine who wanted to know in the video how the grind affects, he's like, well, how would convex versus hexagonal or diamond shaped impact it? We're just going to stay on this for another. This would be, I believe, what people would call convex. Mohan are like this. There's quite a bit of strength left, and they're pretty stiff, so most Mohan are pretty high, except for his bass harps, which there's a lot more weight on the reed. Or if we have a reed that is in the same thickness and relative length, if we have something like that, if this was the same length, because of these steep angles, it's going to be even stiffer because there's more material. Or if we have something that's ground, these are cross sections from the front that's ground like this, it's going to be more flexible because there's just less reed material left. If I draw the other area back in, we've taken off that much of the reed material. And this I might make a 4-part ramble on this subject, why you how you can change the tuning of harps with just in if we were to take this knee bend here and this trigger and make it half as long before we bend it, this harp would be a lot higher because there'd be a lot less weight on it. Or if we were to take like Glazerin does and Mohan does and spiral them like a donut, then we've got all this extra. If we were to stretch out a spiral, it'd be like that tall. So you have all this extra weight on here. So you have extra weight, extra leverage. That also slows it down. You can actually grind off the middle of your reed here, grind it thinner, and that will drop it. If you remove weight from your trigger, because that isn't really helping so much with the stiffness, that's reducing weight, you can actually raise to the note. But this will be like an hour-long ramble probably on this subject. And I've been trying to come up with more ideas for different videos and more of a variety of videos. One of my friends suggested that. So I'm like, oh, that would be a good ramble. If y'all have any questions or anything that you're wondering about, even if I don't know the answer, that'd be a good exploratory video. So if you have any questions on anything or have any video ideas, hit me up. I'll try to make them. Have you ever tried plucking and breathe in, then pluck and breathe out? I kind of tend to double up whenever I'm plucking. I'll breathe out, breathe in, or breathe in, breathe out, or do a hold as well, the glottis hold. That's a hold, my glottis stop, and then out, in. Actually, that's an in, out, hold, in, out, hold, out, in. You said get gradually faster and faster. Well, give it a try. I don't really pluck super fast anymore. What I try to concentrate on is breathing fast, or doing percussives fast, or doing my technique fast, doing open and closes, but not jumping all around in tonal quality. What kind of reed shape do you use in the harps that I build? That is cool. I like that. That's I started out using a single grind, and then I kind of went to a double grind. Let's just... This is the shape that I use for mine if we were to do a cross section. And I used to, for a while, I did this shape for a while. But because you're dealing with two grinds, there's variation all around it, and that screws up what I call the third plane of the harp. It causes the sound waves to be out of time with each other. If I grind like this, I know even if my grind gets off a little bit this way or this way, the noise-making portion of my reed right here, the blade of it, is always going to be flat against the back. So that makes it easier for aligning with the decks. We'll just take a second for this, and maybe for my video I'll draw this out a little bit better. But if we were to not look at this, and this were to be deck number 1 and deck number 2 from the end, I want this plane here to be flat exactly with them. I never want this right here, whether it's at the front or at the back or anywhere along it, because these are my theories on this. Because if I have it ground like this, there's variation, so I don't have a flat plane, a flat back to be up against to align this with. What I believe happens with the jaw harp is that we have the harp, and that we have two areas that are compressing air and making sound, making clicks or whatever, making resonance, whatever you want to call it. I'm not a trained musician, I'm not a scientist, but you have two areas. You have this side of the reed and this side of the reed. And those need to be making things in time. If we think about the way a reed vibrates, when the reed is crossing the decks, we don't ever want any area to be off, whether it be from our reed to there or from this being an arm that's just bent down or tweaked down a little bit. And this is the most overlooked area in clean sound in the harp, because it will, to maintain a perfect bell ring, you have to be absolutely flat plane across there. Because as we have our decks and as we have our reed vibrating along here, it's crossing both decks. So if the decks are off a little bit or the grind on the reed is off a little bit, it's creating those, I'm saying it's creating two sound waves. And when the decks are perfect, it's creating two sound waves. If we were to think of this as a sound wave, not a reed, but a sound wave, both waves would be overlapping each other perfectly. If you have an area of the decks that's like this, or a part of the reed that's off, or if the reed's not sitting flat with it, if it's like a ramp, you're creating these sound waves at a time. Your two sound waves you're creating don't perfectly sit on top of each other. So instead of having an absolutely clean bell ring that's ringing clear like a bell, that's without applying any technique, I call that the bell ring. Don't know what everybody else calls it. Probably something similar. Okay, where's one I know is kind of fuzzy? This one's fuzzy. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Let's find something down in that range that I know is clean. Here's a foaming cob. No, it's not the same exact tuning. But there we heard ding, 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 or dong, dong, dong. We have both sound waves in my theory, or my thoughts, are sitting right on top of each other. They're both in time with each other because sound waves occur in time. If our reed is not perfectly aligned with our deck, and I'm not talking gap width, I'm talking this plane of the instrument from the end, then the two sound waves aren't made in the same time because the reed is crossing the deck at a different point in time, whether it's thousandth of a second or whatever before. So one sound wave's behind each other a little bit, and we have this. So we have this whoosh, whoosh, because the sound waves aren't working with each other. They're out of time. I believe the same thing happens with subwoofers. It's called being out of phase. If you know, there's a positive and a negative, and if you have two subs and you wire one positive and one negative and the other one negative and one positive where it's at on your amp, one sub's moving out while the other is moving in. So the sound waves aren't timed right with each other, and it won't be as loud because the sound waves aren't sitting there. They aren't in unison. They're just a bit out of time. So that's why I call that dimension of the harp the third plane, because this deals with what I would call the phase. But these are my terms, so there's probably more technical, scientific terms out there, but maybe that would be another good concept for a ramble video, because that, I think, is one of the most overlooked things by people when they first start making harps. They mainly stress, getting gaps tight, getting them as consistent as possible, but they overlook the fact that sometimes you might have a reed that is ramping across the decks. That's not good. Or arms that are off just a slight bit. Or when you cut in a reed, instead of being straight across, it's sitting at a downward angle. So one part of the reed is actually just a bit in front of each other. That picture I just showed you would be like the back of an instrument, the back of the reed, like in this dimension, if this was sitting just slightly at an angle. They're really overlooked things, I think, in harp making. What should we... That was a heck of a ramble. I think, was that a 5-minute ramble? All really good ideas for videos. What should we play? Oh, yes, I'll go back to this one. Oh, another thing in harp making I would like to share with you, if and you got the time, are how a harp compresses. All frames flex a little bit. Somebody says, oh, I think, what are we doing here? Oh, yes. I'd like to go over to this concept. All frames flex a little bit, and just because you have decks that are really tight and consistent all the way down there, when you put them in your mouth, I like to take a harp frame and just flex it just a little bit. And what I like to see out of a reed, and some harps it's super pronounced, like the tips of the frames will get down closer to the knee bend. Oh, Juan Carlos Morales, hey, how are you doing? How's the harping? And if you will have more squelch out of an instrument if your decks aren't fairly consistent under stress. So if you have it in your mouth and you're biting lightly and the frame closes a little bit, If it starts out exactly even all the way across there, as it closes, the front of it closes down with the reed more. Like some of these Yakudian instruments I've noticed, and a lot of other really good instruments, they'll be really tight. Where's my chunchoyo? They'll be super tight. Come on out there. They'll be super tight all the way down, and then at the tips, there's a little bit more room. When you take this chunchoyo and I hold it up to the light, if I squeeze the decks, all along there touches perfectly. The light disappears perfectly symmetrically. Best harp for beginners. Well, that depends on what you want to get out of your instrument. Are you looking for like saturated sound, like really techno, really out of spacey sound? I would say one of the Glasrin, because they're about the most techno-y outer space, really, really, really saturated. Like I would say, if you want a beginner, let's just grab 3. I've got all these over here. Where are we at? Haven't adjusted any of these. These are brand new. If you're looking for like a bass that's really saturated as a beginner, you don't want to spend a lot of money, but you want it to be decent for your first harp, the Lighthouse. If you're looking for a mid-range, what's the most louder harp? The most loudest harp I played, I'm not going to play, is a Govatsoyev. I might play it. It's going to distort my mic a little bit. Oh, there's another question. The questions are popping up so fast. Like other mid-range saturated instruments are like the Wave, the Compass. And like the Wave sounds kind of hillbilly. Compass is really good for really fast play. If you're looking to go unsaturated with an instrument like a Morchang or Munup or something like that, if you want something that's super easy to play, for beginners, like the the Gorka tailless, they're not going to be quite as loud of like the Glasrin that are really saturated, but they give you a really clean tone. Listen to the bell ring. This is my personal one. I've actually been taking them out to the shop, and if there's any minor irregularities in them, I'll put them on the anvil and true the frames up exactly, and I'll tighten the gaps down a little bit to get really consistent sound out of them. Because the tailless really, really pick up your open close. They'll pick them up better than the Glasrin. They're not going to be as loud or as saturated as a Glasrin, but they're going to pick up your open close better because you have that lack of saturation. Sitting. No, I don't. Oh, I think I missed the question. That was a video answer. And in my opinion, beginners will progress quicker on an unsaturated instrument, and I think there's a reason why. Saturation can be a wonderful thing, but it also covers up a lot of bad techniques or techniques that don't work very well. Like this tailless requires more effort because I have to make really accurate mouth shapes and really control the tone of it and really reinforce the tones on it, whereas like a Glasrin harp is going to be loud no matter what you do. I can make fast jumps, or I can jump around quickly in my mouth, and it's not going to pick up the subtlety, so it just seems like smoother transitions. Oh, you broke your trigger off? Oh, that's a bummer. A lot of the times, playing hard outward on harps will break the trigger as well. And if you have them in your pocket and this reed's getting bent, you're bending it back all the time, it's going to work harden the spring steel right there, and it's going to eventually break it. But where is we at? Well, yeah, good unsaturated harps for beginners. And like Parmapul are not a beginner harp, but all Parmapul that I've played so far are super easy to play. And they're unsaturated, but they're not down in that beginner price range. You want beginner harps to be under $50 most of the time if it's your first harp. Most people, and I do know some people who spent $100 to $200 on their first harp. Can you make a video on saturation and non-saturation? I need to be writing this down. There's so many video ideas that people are coming up with. Let's just touch base on what saturation is. Saturation, for the longest time, I knew what it sounded like, knew what it felt like, but I didn't know how to describe it. When is the festival occurring? Oh, it's in June. I want to say June 26th, Cottage Grove, Oregon. But saturation is that crackling abundance of higher overtones. And that wave was really saturated. And like some of the really rich basses seem really saturated. Where is an aesthetic? I'll put you back here in a second. And a lot of people want the star, but they don't have the money for the star. The aesthetic are almost the same thing as the star, but a lot shorter. So I'd suggest anything, if you're saving up to buy a star or don't have the money to buy a star, buy an aesthetic. You will get a lot of the same qualities out of it. And the reed on an aesthetic is about, well, yeah, actually it's about as long. In a lot of ways, I like the aesthetic better. There's that crackling sensitivity or saturation. Unsaturated instruments would be like, a lot of your Munarp are really unsaturated. My Fomenkov, that has a touch of saturation. We need something even cleaner than that. We need like this. I can't even think of the name right now. It's really, really clean. It doesn't have that crackling nature. Silagi, a lot of Silagi are pretty decently saturated. Most of your Morchang are going to have little to no saturation. And having a lack of saturation, having a little bit cleaner of tone, it picks up on the subtlety more. You'll notice if you start off playing like saturated instruments immediately, you will make larger jumps around in mouth shape, whereas playing unsaturated instruments, you learn to manipulate the subtlety because it picks up the subtlety. And if you're jumping around a whole bunch, it doesn't sound nearly as good. That's why when a lot of people who've only played, and this, myself included, I only played really saturated instruments at first. When I got my first Morchang and a couple other different types of harps, I didn't know what to do with them. I didn't like them because all the techniques that I did before didn't seem to apply as well, didn't seem to work as well. It's just because my techniques weren't refined enough. I wasn't used to open close. I didn't know about open close for the longest time, which is the key. If you have a Morchang, you need, or Morchang, Munarp, Parmapool, you need to learn open close. And even if you are playing saturated instruments, open close glottis style applies, and it's 50% of the noise the harp can make, I think. I'm just quoting myself. What else was he saying? I don't know. I lost it. What do we want to play? That was a good ramble on saturation and whatnot. I need to do some longer videos on this. Oh, this one. I'm having Mohan make more of these. I don't know what to call them. He put marks on it. The X marks. Kind of like it's a Gorka, but it's like a mid-range Mohan, but it's stiffer. It kind of reminds me of the Gogolev I played, but not as low. Like almost pulsating. Good bass harp for beginners and good techniques for it too. Like good bass harp for beginners, that's cheap is, I would say, the Glaser and Lighthouse, and all your techniques are gonna work on it. The open close, it's not gonna pick up as well because of the saturation. Oh, I missed the question. I think I'm just gonna ohm out on this for a second. And I'm having Mohan make some more of these. I really, really love this style. Oh, I really got lost in that. My mouth did start to fill up with saliva, but I just dealt with it. Sometimes it kind of works against you, especially if you want to play for a really long period of time. Having your mouth full of saliva, but you get some really really cool overtones off it because the bottom crevices of your mouth start filling up, and it just gives you some cool tonal qualities. Those sound waves resonating around there with water. So anytime, and people have asked me like what to do if your mouth starts filling up with spit. I would just see what you can do with it, see what it does for the instrument, because there are some really cool qualities you can get out of it. I would much rather have my mouth filling up with saliva while playing than drying out. And I have made that mistake before. One time I played in a bar and it was really hot, and before I went up there, I didn't bring a drink or a beverage or anything. After the first couple minutes, my harp playing, my mouth dried out, my throat started drying out, and I decided to keep playing. And it was really, really, really uncomfortable. Let's play this. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get back on the chemchoy. I've been playing the chemchoy a lot, Nate. It's got a lot to teach me, I think. Well, we'll play another couple minutes. We're at 38 minutes already. There's no way we've been going for 38 minutes. But then again, I did do quite a bit rambling, so.
$40 exactly. We're gonna wrap it up with that. I love y'all. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more harpery. Make sure to tip to I'm kind of lightheaded after doing that much open close. Be sure to hit the bell icon down below so you get notifications if you want to know when new videos are coming out. I love y'all. Kelly Diggs, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for stopping by. It's so wonderful that people, and we had so many good questions. I got new video ideas. So anyways, if you come up with other ideas for videos or other things you'd like to know, be sure to comment below. After the videos ended, comment below so that I can see the comment permanently, because these live comments I don't think that I can see in real time. And we'll try to get a video made for you. Anyways, I love y'all. Keep your harps clean, keep them dry, keep them oiled. Be good to each other. Play the harp for the people around you. Have a good time with it. And most of all, I'll leave you with this piece of advice. If you have a harp you don't like playing, play it often and submit to the will of the harp. See what the harp wants to do, not what you want to do. Just submit to the will of the harp and let the harp teach you something. Love y'all. Adios. I'm just going to switch to overhand. This harp just likes to be played overhand. And I might have to be delving more into my overhand. Hey, peace, Kelly Diggs. I might have to delve more into my overhand technique later, because it is a good technique, but just not something I'm good at the moment, because I just don't do it very often. If anybody's wondering what I'm doing there, I'm doing open, close, and I'm doing like a falling technique. And then at the end, I'm going utit. Like if I were to make my mouth like utit, but inward.